coming for to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Coming for to carry me home.
Well, thank you, Anne.
Thank you, Waylon.
So we're going to start fresh with each interview, as you'll get, because they're succinct interviews that'll be on our website. So I'm Waylon Lewis with Elephant Journal, and I am elephant.com, and you are Anne Waldman. I don't know about AnneWaldman.com, but no. Yeah, I reserved it a couple years ago. I'm waiting for you to buy it from me.
How much?
If you, yeah.
Inestimable.
I can't think of anything funny to say. So I just wanted to start by saying we're kind of going national, Elephant, and we have this list of our idols, which are people like Yvonne Chouinard and crazy people like Nelson Mandela, amazing people, wonderful. And you're one of our 10.
Thank you.
So that's a reflection of who Anne is to me and us as a magazine. That's good grammar. I'll edit that out later on. So there's so much to talk about. You're obviously one of the beat poets, one of the we'll get it. It's a 10-minute interview.
Generation.
We'll just skip over the subtleties. You co-founder with Allen Ginsberg, one of the beat poets for sure, of Jack Kerouac's School of Disembodied Poetics, which is just about a half-mile that way, over at Naropa University. And you're a busy lady. I understand you have a new book, and perhaps most exciting of the long list is we're here to talk a bit about the first. Is this the first Kerouac?
We had a on the road conference 25 years ago, which was a major event, and a lot of the beat writers were still with us.
Right.
And this one is 50 years, honoring On the Road, and actually the new publication, which is the scroll, the original scroll.
If you can just hold that for a couple
one
seconds.
Paragraph.
Alex.
I don't know if you can see this, but there's no indentation. So this is the original typescript from the roll, and of course the De Moriarty characters, Neil Cassidy, and so all the people are identified in terms of who they really were. So it's a very exciting event.
So for people who aren't familiar with Kerouac, which is probably one person, and it's the one playing in the sandbox, Kerouac wrote On the Road a couple different drafts, but the famous one, it was all on the scroll that was all bound together kind of, and he was high on Benny, and he just wrote the whole thing, and it's pretty amazing.
100 words per minute.
So this is the original 100 words per minute.
This is
and who was it who said famously, Truman Capote or someone said, that's not writing, that's typing.
Yeah, well,
yeah, jerk.
Much more than.
Yeah.
It's a complete explication of mind.
As Trungpa Rinpoche said, it was a direct, something like what you just said.
Explication of mind.
Right.
So really trying to capture the fleeting moments as they pass. So there are a lot of these epiphammic moments, and completely awake and on.
The idea from an artistic point of view, it's called contemplative art in the Buddhist tradition, that you can literally just transmit who you are and you don't have to kind of work yourself up into this big artistic.
Well, there's this idea of spontaneity and also trusting the thought before the first thought, in a way, which is the first thought, but the sub-thought before that, self-conscious thought. And I think there's a lot of, liberated writing in this text where he's, went through some drafts, and I think he was a little beleaguered by the editors. Even Allen confesses to being, he was sort of the broker for the book, concerned about it was just too risky and experimental, but then he came around to see it. So we're honoring that, and we're inviting the entire community to come out on June 30th at 1 p.m. to the Naropa Institute University campus, where we're going to read the entire On the Road. So we're inviting you all to participate in that. And then the following day, we're having a series of panels and various events, and that will culminate in a reading performance at the Boulder Theater with David Amram and Nick Errata of the Devachka and Stephen Taylor and others.
Wow, that's wonderful.
It's a full weekend.
Right. So normally we have meetings before this, and we say, so we'll talk about all the details at the end, because basically this is meant to be an interview that anyone can watch for like a year. So Heather, my brain, wasn't there, and I, of course, didn't transmit any of that in our pre-meeting. But that is all wonderful stuff, and if you're watching this video a year from now, you missed out.
I just want to say, when we founded the Jack Kerouac School of Disembodied Poetics, the point of create this poetics school and department was the notion that Kerouac had experienced the first Buddhist noble truth of suffering.
Cool.
So you can suffer, you can suffer. Let's all hang out. We'll name a school after.
I'm just trying to remember I'm in this room right now. So, it's not really a room, I guess. So, I actually wanted to touch on that because I admire your poetry. You're quite an amazing poet in your own right, of course. And you're also a Buddhist. And what is that connection between, whether it's Buddhism or not, between that sort of first thought, best thought, or that spontaneity you were talking about that Kerouac exhibited?
Well, I think just investigating your own mind, so seeing how your mind works. There's a sense of upaya, which is the Sanskrit word for skillful means, in terms of a path of activity, and we all have our different paths in terms of what we can do best. And so I think at an early age, somehow working with language, working with imagination, working with communities of writers was really important to me. And there was also almost a political and spiritual sense of sangha, and creating an atmosphere where people could be there, trust their minds and look into that. Of course, there's a kind of refinement and discriminating awareness that kicks in as you make the work. But it's a practice. You have to be somewhat disciplined.
Right. Yeah. I used to want to be a writer, but that didn't work out.
And then there's also one of our slogans at the Kerouac School comes from John Keats, and it was in a letter to his brother, and it's negative capability, which is the ability to hold disparate ideas in the mind without any irritable reach after fact or reason. So that seemed very appropriate in terms of the way we need to take our seat in the world. I mean, it's sort of a Buddhist idea that you can work with the chaos, work with the contradictions. You don't have to be either an eternalist or a nihilist. You can sort of be with your own mind and make friends with yourself and with your creativity. Right. Are you here yet?
Yeah, I'm coming here. I don't know why I think we've been doing this for a year, so it's actually, I think, a negative testament to my admiration for you, that I'm usually just bored to death up here, and I'm like, right, and then I ask a brilliant question, and then the next brilliant question. But this week I can't say anything. I'm mostly just staring at you.
One of the other slogans of our school is
I'm thinking about going for my coffee, but
keep the world safe for poetry.
Right.
So we're working on that.
That's what I was going to ask. So aside from a spiritual element to your art, or to art generally, to being present and manifesting that and sharing that presence with others, you bring so much politics into it. And I think that's something wonderful. People often say a very rude thing about poetry, which is that it's a dying form, that people are too busy watching American Idol for poetry. And yet when I read your poetry, it's fully relevant. It feels like I'm watching the Jon Stewart show. It's like very alive and very awake.
Good.
So yeah, so that's not just meant as a compliment. How do the arts, what is their role?
It's very, very individual. I think just the act of it is a political act. It's against the grain. It's what we talk about the outrider tradition, or creating alternative realities.
And what's the outrider tradition?
Well, it comes with a notion of kind of riding alongside the mainstream, not being completely outside, but sort of maybe parallel. Independent.
Right.
Continuous. So you connect with we talk a lot about lineage, a long stream of people who've been doing